What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Global Thrills. My name is Jack and it's been a while since I've had to do any filming. Our trip to Orlando finished back in October and it's now March, so it's been a few months and the UK park's open in just a couple of weeks. I'm super excited for that, but in the meantime I want to do a quick video. We're going to be doing an Orlando tier list, but it's just going to be the attractions that I experienced. So I've created my own one. It's my own tier list with my own rules, just how I feel about the attractions. So if you disagree, feel free to shout at me, but let's get into it. First up is the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. This is a very, very good ride. You know, it may have opened with the park in 1999, but it doesn't feel outdated. The way they integrate the screens and the physical sets work really well together, and overall it's just like a kick-ass ride. I only got to do it once, I'd love to do it again. But yeah, it is an amazing, the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man is an amazing ride. On the other hand, a more modern ride that doesn't live up to the hype, Avatar, Flight of Passage. I think this is still a good attraction, I'll put it in B tier. However, with the fact it just gets such long waits and the quality of the visuals isn't quite where it should be, and the fact that you can also get really bad seats, which is what happened to us. We got the very bottom row on the very far right, and so we were kind of looking up to the left and the whole of the screen was distorted. It just, it wasn't the best. However, I think even if I did get like a front center seat, it still wouldn't be worth the hype. It might move up into A tier, however, I think it's a severely overhyped attraction. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad really took me by surprise. It was a really good coaster, quite extreme for a Disney ride. Quite janky, but it was really good. The way they have the kind of the trick track that kind of jolts the train from side to side and makes you feel like you're kind of in the Midwest in these times. It was a really good ride. It really took me by surprise. Again, I only got to ride it once. Should have ridden it a few more times because it is a very good coaster. I'd love to ride the one in Paris because everyone says that's the best. Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. It's a decent interactive shooting ride. I mean, I think there's better ones out there. I personally prefer Toy Story Mania, even though that's more screen based. I feel like Toy Story Mania does a good job of actually allowing you to see where you shoot, and the fact it's not too crowded with too many people at once. It's just the two of you on one screen. Buzz does better set pieces and physical designs, but I think overall it looks a bit dated. I'll put it in C tier. Castle of Progress. Castle of Progress I do enjoy. I don't think it can go higher than C tier, but I do really enjoy it for what it is. It's a good place to go and chill out for a bit. I love the song, it's so catchy, kind of by the end you're nodding your head along to it, singing along. I do quite enjoy it. Cat in the Hat, I don't know, I guess it's kind of Universal's equivalent to this from Disney. Not as old, not as iconic, and not as good. Slightly cursed, kind of give you nightmares with Thing 1 and Thing 2. I do enjoy the Dr. Seuss books and the Dr. Seuss stories. However, this can't really go higher than anything else so far. Now, Cheetah Hunt. I enjoy it for what it was, maybe more than what it is now. The fact that it was Intamin's first multi-launch, kind of first Intamin Blitz, and it's led to coasters like Velocicoaster, like Tutatis, like Pantheon. I love it for that. However, it doesn't kind of deliver the forces in the way you want it to. It's definitely a family thrill coaster. There's moments that I really enjoy, like the wind catcher in the picture, like the bit in the water where you're going from side to side. However, it's not the best coaster in the park by a long mark. Busch Gardens has some really good coasters. I enjoy Cheetah Hunt, but it's definitely not in my top 3. B tier. Cobra's Curse, I think I enjoy on a pretty similar level to Cheetah Hunt. I think I do prefer Cheetah Hunt, so I'll put it just below. But I think it's got really good theming. Obviously, they reused the queue from an older attraction, so that's really cool. And I enjoy the 3 different portions of it. I mean, the backwards portion, the second portion doesn't really do much. You kind of go up a lift, they'll go backwards a bit, and then you start to go up another one, you start spinning. But I do enjoy it. I think it's a good family ride. Kind of a thrill that everyone can enjoy, to be honest. Despicable Me, Mini Mayhem. I'm going to put it straight in D tier. I think if you watch any of my videos, you know how I feel about simulators. The fact that Studios has 3 is appalling, especially when you have a partner who can't ride them because they feel sick. I think I enjoyed the pre-show, but the attraction itself, not that great. We're going to do quick fire round now. Dinosaur, B tier. Dr. Doom's Fearful, D tier. Dudley Do Right's Whipsaw Falls, B tier. Enchanted Tiki Room, C tier. E.T. Adventure, C tier. Right, and now Expedition Everest. I have to talk about this one a bit. I would give a huge amount of money to be able to see it when it first opened in its first year with the Yeti working, because I bet having that 20-foot animatronic trying to reach down and grab you would have made it, you know, just taken up to the next level. Overall, it's still an amazing attraction. I mean, the level of theming that Disney did in this is like unbeatable, really. I think it's one of the best themed coasters ever. And I think for a Disney roller coaster, kind of like Big Thunder Mountain, but even more so, it gives you some pretty intense forces. That helix in the dark can take you by surprise, to be honest. It's definitely an A tier ride. I wish I'd done it a few more times. I'm gonna put it top of A tier. It could maybe sneak into S. I think the theming, the forces, all round the coaster, very, very good attraction. Falcon's Fury, I don't know. I want to put this in S tier, and I think I will. This was my first drop tower, I think, over 200 feet. The tallest I've done before, I think, was Hangover at Hyde Park Winter Wonderland, but this is like 1.5 times taller than that. It's mad, and the way it tilts you forward. It's the first time on an attraction where I've actually been nervous, like thinking you embrace that thinking there's all that's between me and a 330-foot fall to the ground is this restraint, and that's it. And then it drops you so fast and swings you at the bottom. It is the attraction that gets my adrenaline going the most, and I think that's why it has to be an S tier. On the other hand, Fast and Furious, I should have added an F tier. I should have added a tier below D tier, because this doesn't even belong in the same tier as Despicable Me and Dr. Doom's Fearful. They might be average attractions, below average attractions, but they're not rubbish. Fast and Furious is rubbish, and I found out since Orlando that it's actually a relatively new attraction. Like, it's only like 6 or 7 years old. What? I thought it was like at least 15 years old. The fact that Universal have done it in the last 10 years, what a joke. Rip it out, get rid of it, do something new. Flight of the Hippogriff. Flight of the Hippogriff, I think, has to go in C tier. It's not really at the same level as Cobra's Curse or Cheetah Hunt, really, and they're nowhere near. It's a family coaster. It does give you really, really nice views all over Hogsmeade and off Hogwarts. But yeah, I think it has to go in C tier. I think I'll put it just above Enchanted Tiki Room, mainly just because of the views. Grand Fiesta Tour, Starting 3 Caballeros. I think I could put this in C tier. I think I'm going to put it down in D tier. I do enjoy the ride, however, I don't think Disney put much thought into it as an attraction. I think it fits well inside the Mexico Pavilion, however, a lot of it's quite screen-based, and I don't think there's much connection with the characters. As a boat ride, it's nice. I like to do it, but I don't think it belongs in C tier. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, instant S tier. I think it's better for me than Falcon's Fury. It was definitely our favourite Disney attraction. The fact that you get the onboard audio with some of the best songs, that backwards launch as the music comes on, it just makes you smile. It's not too intense, hasn't got much intense forces, but that's good. It means everyone can enjoy it. However, it being in the dark makes you feel like you're going faster, and the way it turns you to face the set pieces, the planets, the stars that are coming around you, the fact that it has a really well thought out story filled with action, everything about it works, to be honest, apart from how long you have to queue for it. But yeah, definitely an S tier attraction. Followed by another S tier attraction, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. A bit of a mouthful. Personally, it's tough for me. Between these two, I'm not sure. I think I have to go Hagrid's as my number one at the moment. Again, I love Guardians. I think Guardians is a great attraction. However, Hagrid's for me just stands out as an attraction with so many different elements, so many different launches, switch tracks, drop tracks, all these animatronics. Just the way it works is incredible. They had so many problems with it in the first year, and now it seems to be pretty consistent with the way it works. It strikes me as so impressive, but in the ride itself, it's also so enjoyable. It feels fast, it feels snappy, it's got a great storyline. All these moments just give you such a good ride experience, and for me, number one at the moment. Now we have Harry Potter Escape from Gringotts and Harry Potter The Forbidden Journey. Obviously both based on the same IP, but quite different rides. You've got Gringotts, which is kind of close with Dark Ride elements, where it has you stopping and tilting, and then Forbidden Journey is obviously with the Kruger arm. Very impressive attraction, kind of first of its kind. I think I enjoy them both similarly to each other. The queues for both of them are insane, incredibly well themed with the bank, incredibly well themed with Hogwarts itself. I think just about I do prefer Gringotts, but I do really enjoy all the animatronics in Forbidden Journey as well. Both of them can go in A tier, probably low A tier. Haunted Mansion for me, I do quite enjoy it. I think I'll put it in low A tier. I was going to put it in B tier, but I think I love all the different scenes. I love how varied it is. I really enjoy the Omni-Move ride system. We did get stuck on it a few times, and it's not my favourite in Magic Kingdom, that's coming later, but I still think it's a really good attraction. High in the Sky Zeus Trolley, this could be C tier. Gives you good views over Zeus Landing, and that's about it. Hogwarts Express, kind of similar to High in the Sky Zeus Trolley. I'll put it in here just above it. It's a really unique way to get between the two parks. I like what Universal did. It keeps you immersed in the land, but the actual attraction itself, once you've done it once, it's really not that interesting. And if it has anything more than a 20-minute queue, I wouldn't bother doing it. I'd probably just end up walking from one park to the other. Hollywood Whitmore Rocket, I think it looks great. I think it looks the part. However, it doesn't quite deliver on the ride experience. The amount of mid-course brake runs it has is quite funny. Again, I would like to get a few more rides on this to fully realise how I feel about it. I think I got on it twice, front row and I think maybe third row. I'd like to give it a go on the back row because I've heard from someone recently, apparently back row you can get some really good whip over on the front drop. But it is a little bit rough. It will be interesting to see what direction Universal take with it over the next 5 years, 10 years. I think I'll put it in B tier. I prefer Cheetah Hunt, I think, so I'll put it just about here. Icebreaker. Icebreaker really took me by surprise. I was not expecting to enjoy it. I think the fact that they took the comfort collars off does really help, but it gave me a lot of unexpected airtime. When I was expecting it to be pretty mid-ride. The second half, after you get the swing launch of the top hat and the airtime hill, does meander a little bit. It warmed up a lot through the day, so to get more airtime at the end of the day. But yeah, it took me by surprise. I think it's a good ride. I think I would rather take Cheetah Hunt and Rip Ride Rocket, so I'll put it, again, just under there. Now, the Incredible Hulk coaster. This might be slightly controversial, but this, again, is going to slot in right at number 1 for me. I think when people think of Islands of Adventure and their top 2 coasters, they would think of Velocicoaster and Hagrid's. However, for me, personally, I prefer the Incredible Hulk. I think the entire launch up that hill into that 0G roll is an incredible element. It is so intense. It's quite a long ride experience. I like the variety of the elements in it. I think Hagrid's as an attraction is cooler. It's a better attraction, but I would prefer to take a ride on Incredible Hulk rather than Hagrid's. Infinity Falls, and this is SeaWorld's newest edition before Pipeline, and it's a pretty good raft ride. We don't have anything like it in the UK. It does feel modern, and it's a good experience. The rafts are cool, the way you get the vertical lift. It's quite an aggressive rapids as well. The operations are horrible, so there's always a massive queue for it, which personally did affect my enjoyment of it. It had a massive queue throughout the whole day, and I only managed to get on right at the end, and I still waited 40 minutes. It was ridiculous when everything else Maker's on 5 minutes. For me, because of that, it does fall a couple of points, but I still really enjoy it. I'm going to put it in B tier. Iron Gwazi. Now, again, we're going down the list. It's just, I keep getting a new number 1. This, for me, is obviously my number 1. I think this is my first RMC, and for this to be my first RMC, I think everything else that comes after might be a bit of disappointment. However, it was an insane experience. That first drop, amazing. That overbank turn, amazing. The wave turn over the station, amazing. That death roll as you do that 360 down drop. Every single element is amazing. The pacing is incredible. You come into the brake run with so much speed. It could be a teeny bit longer, but it's just all the forces you could ever want on a roller coaster. Iron Gwazi gives it to you. It is an incredible coaster. If you haven't ridden it yet, get out to Florida and ride Iron Gwazi. On the other hand, we have It's a Small World, which is not quite the same. For me, it's a similar vein to Cat in the Hat. It's a little bit annoying. The song does get stuck in your head a little bit. I would probably always do it every time I went, but only to complain about it, if you get me. I would rather do the High in the Sky Zeus Trolley than It's a Small World. It's tough to be a bug. This is getting replaced soon. I can kind of see why. I mean, it's a decent show. We didn't get the grasshopper animatronic, which is kind of probably the best part of it. It was funny seeing all the kids' reactions to the spiders and the things coming out the seat in the back. It's alright. I think I could definitely skip it if I went back to Animal Kingdom. I think it has to go in D tier for me. Let's do another quick fire round. Journey into Imagination with Figment, C tier. Journey to Atlantis, B tier. Jungle Cruise, C tier. Jurassic Park River Adventure, B tier. Kali River Rapids, C tier. Kilimanjaro Safaris, A tier. Let's go back to another coaster, Kumba. I personally didn't have the best experience on this. I think as a coaster, it's really cool. And again, like Cheetah Hunt, I respect its place in kind of coaster history, where it was the first B&M looper. You know, the way it had smooth inversions, intense forces, you know, coming in at a time where there was no other coaster like it. I really enjoy it for that. I love how it looks. The Watermelon colours are amazing. And it is a good ride. It is just rough. Maybe that's just the experience I had on it, but I did a couple of rides. I did the back row, but I also did the front row, and it was just as rough on the front. Not quite. It was manageable on the front, but at the back, it was almost too much. I have a pretty high tolerance. I don't really mind roughness. I think I say Hollywood Rip by Rocket is rough. I don't really mind it. I don't think that takes away from the experience on it. However, for Kumba, it did a little bit, just a little bit. So for that reason, I think I'm going to give it B tier, but high B tier. Living with the Land, I did not have a good experience on. I think I enjoy the attraction. However, when you're stuck on it for 50 minutes, it does get to you. You're just staring face to face with a fish. I think it's a good attraction, but my experience with it was not great, so I think I'm gonna go C tier. Now we have a pair of very, very good roller coasters. These were definitely my top two in SeaWorld, Mako and Manta. Mako is my number one, Manta's my number two, but it is very close. I had, I think, almost 10 rides on each of these when I was there. Thoroughly enjoyed both of them. I love Mako for its re-rideability. It's, you know, it's bountiful flow to air time. You just want to sit on that back row and ride it again, which I did manage to do because it wasn't that busy and it just let me keep riding as a single rider. Just a beautiful coaster. I love the way it goes over the water. I love the finale after the mid-course, the way you sweep down over the water. Just a top tier ride. Manta is kind of the opposite of that, where it's just so intense. That first drop up into that pretzel loop, his inline twists, has some decent theming for a SeaWorld coaster. Kind of you sweep round over the water, you sweep round over the waterfall. Again, both really good coasters. I think they both definitely have to go into at least A tier, maybe even S tier. Yeah, I think for me, Mako just slots into S tier, maybe above Falcon's Fury. Yeah, put it there. And then I think Manta can be high A tier. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. This was a cute ride, similar to Cat in the Hat in the fact that I really liked the books when I was little. But as an attraction, it doesn't give you that much. I think I slightly prefer it. I'll pop it in. I'll pop it in just next to It's a Small World and Cat in the Hat. Right, another quick fire round. Let's go. Men in Black, Alien Attack, B tier. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, B tier. Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, C tier. Mission Space, C tier. Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, D tier. And then we're back to Busch Gardens with Montu. This was a very powerful, very intense, very whippy invert, with some elements that I hadn't experienced on an invert before, like the Batwing, which was, you know, face-rippingly intense. Really good ride. I wish I had a little bit more theming. I think Cobra's Curse being next to it kind of contributes, but also shows what they could have done with Montu to make it really well themed, kind of fitting further into that Egyptian theme. Muppet Vision 3D is a D tier. I mean, it's a fun little show. Again, lots of these D tiers are things that I'm glad I experienced the first time around, but I wouldn't rush to experience them again. I think I'd put it in around Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor. It's a very similar kind of attraction, to be honest. I'm going to move Doctor Doom's Fearful up. It's definitely at the top of D tier. I think it's a good shot tower, nothing special. Na'vi River Journey, again, another Pandora attraction, which is very, very overrated. It always gets huge queues because they absolutely smash the Genie Plus on it. And that animatronic at the end is incredible. It's so fluid and so lifelike, but you can also see that that's where the whole budget for the ride went. I think the rest of it is a little bit dull, charming, enchanting. But, you know, it could have had a drop. They could have put a drop in like Frozen, like kind of some of these other water rides that I do definitely rank higher. I think Na'vi River Journey for me has to go low B tier. The People Mover is an attraction I really enjoyed. We got the lights on inside Space Mountain on the first time I rode it, which was awesome, kind of a bucket list thing. I think it gives you really nice views around Tomorrowland, across Magic Kingdom, at Cinderella Castle. It's just a really enjoyable attraction. It's you know, it's not the most high-tech or brand new attraction, but I think it adds a really nice atmosphere to Tomorrowland. And I think I would always want to ride it when I go there, just, you know, to sit back and relax and enjoy the atmosphere of the park. For me, I think it fits into B tier just about. Peter Pan's Flight, again, incredibly overrated, very similar to E.T., however, it seems to just get massive queues. I think mainly because people see the queue and they're like, oh, that must be good, so we'll queue for it. But that's mainly just because it's got horrible throughput. Personally, I think it just about gets into C tier, but I think it's similar to Winnie the Pooh, It's a Small World, where I'm not desperate to re-ride it. I would like to ride it. I think that's a good categorization for C tier, where I would like to ride it once each time I go, but I'm not desperate to re-ride it every time I go. Now we have SeaWorld's newest addition to the park, which is Pipeline the Surf Coaster. This was my first stand-up coaster, so if that's been my first stand-up, maybe I will now hate every single other stand-up I go on. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go on Shockwave before they changed the trains this year. But Pipeline was really cool. There's a sensation of having like that flow to air time with your feet coming off the board and literally floating through the air. Was incredible. There's nothing else like it. I think it's a great prototype. I think they've done a great job with it working with B&M. And I really hope that more parks start to get some of these. I would love to see one in the UK. I think they could theme it. There's lots of different kind of options they could have for theming. For me, for the uniqueness and kind of the ingenuity the attraction has and how much I enjoyed it, I think it can go just about into low A tier. Now here's what I was talking about earlier. Pirates of the Caribbean, #1 favourite attraction in Magic Kingdom. This is something that I love to ride, and we did. I think we did it at least 4 or 5 times. And also you can get a different experience each time. It's such a massive set from floor to ceiling. Everything's themed in. You have hundreds of animatronics, a good storyline, you have a good drop, you have these explosions going around you, have all these different scenes. For that reason, I think it's really rideable and I really enjoy it. It's definitely an A tier attraction for me. My favourite in Magic Kingdom, so it just about beats Big Thunder Mountain. However, I think I slightly prefer Everest, so I think I'll slot it in just there. Pluto and Popeye's Bilge Rat Barges. That's another mouthful. And it's another great raft ride. For me, I can see that Infinity Falls is a more modern raft ride. However, I definitely prefer Pluto's. I think it's better themed. I like the theme of Toon Lagoon. And it does completely just soak you through. But if you're in Orlando in the summer, you're happy for that to happen. So I think it's a B tier attraction. I think it's similar to Dudley Do Right in terms of enjoyment. I think it belongs probably just right next to it. We had a better ride on Dudley Do Right on our second time around, so I think it just goes just underneath it. Jimmy Fallon's simulator ride, D tier. I thought it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it still was not a good ride. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Coming from Guardians in Epcot to Remy's, it's a pretty big drop. I would say it can still just about squeeze into B tier. I really enjoy the Trackless Dark ride. However, I enjoy something like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway a lot more. I think that's a lot more dynamic. The scenes in it are a lot more varied. I think Remy's is a little bit boring, to be honest. I think I could even put it in C tier. There's some rides there that I prefer than Remy's. I think I'm just going to put it right there. Revenge of the Mummy, very similar attraction to Harry Potter Escape from Gringotts. Personally, I prefer it. It may be a slightly older ride, but they've done a really good job of refurbishing it and keeping it working. Again, as I said earlier, I love pyro. If Gringotts had pyro and Voldemort breathes that skull of flame, I think it would probably maybe just about beat the Mummy. But the fact that the Mummy has so much pyro, I love it. I love the fake out station. I love all the animatronics. I think Escape from Gringotts has too much stopping and starting. I think Mummy does a good job of having all of its kind of dark ride elements at the start of the ride, and then giving you that backwards part, turntable, and then launch up the hill into the coaster section. It kind of keeps them, it has the best parts of both, but it keeps them separate, whereas I think Gringotts mixes it up too much and it kind of fractures the pacing of the ride. So Mummy for me is definitely an A tier. I'm going to put it in right in there. Next up, we have 2 very problematic Disney attractions, Rise of the Resistance and Rock and Roller Coaster. We did manage to get on Rock and Roller Coaster, which is why it's on this list, but it had an extended period of maintenance before we were there, and it's also got an extended period of maintenance for the past couple months up until now. Don't even know when it's going to reopen. Rise of the Resistance, I mean, everyone knows it goes down several times a day because of how complex it is. But it is still a very good attraction. I'm going to put it in A tier. I don't think it's an S tier. Again, I think it's similar to Flight of Passage, where it's slightly overrated, but not as bad. It's definitely still a really cool attraction. The amount of moving parts in it is amazing. A different part of the attraction every time you ride it. And the fact that it has two vehicles kind of going in tandem with each other. There's two different ride experiences you can have. So it definitely goes into A tier, just about there, I think. And then Rock 'n' Roller Coaster can be high B tier. I think it's similar to Cheetah Hunt, you know. It's got a punchier launch, it's an indoor coaster, and I do like launch coasters, but the theming is weaker. You can't really see too much as you're going around it. Maybe it's a little bit too dark and they could use some more lighting or theming in there, I think. But yeah, I think high B tier is good. We're going to do Seven Dwarfs Mine Train next. It's a decent little family ride, and it's definitely a family ride. I mean, there's not much thrill there, and it adds a nice kineticism to Magic Kingdom and some very good capacity as well. But again, it attracts these huge lines when, as an attraction, it's nothing amazing. It's fun to do, and it has some nice theming, it has a nice story of Snow White, and I like the animatronics at the end. But it doesn't deserve the queues that it gets. It just gets those queues because it's in the busiest theme park in the world. I think it belongs in high C tier. And now we have 3 Busch Gardens attractions in a row. Scorpion, Serengeti Flyer, and SheiKra. All of them pretty good. I mean, they all kind of fill their own niche. Scorpion is a pretty intense little Schwarzkopf looper. The only other Schwarzkopf looper I've been on is Munich looping, Olympia looping, which I think is better. It's a very good ride. But I do really enjoy Scorpion for what it is. I like the fact that you can kind of see the whole ride. It's very compact. You can stand on the side and see the train go around its whole course from the side. I do enjoy that. And it feels in a nice spot, a nice plot in Busch Gardens. And I think overall it's a B tier. Then Serengeti Flyer was their new addition for the year we went, last year. Again, this is kind of the theme. I've been on an attraction like this before in Rush at Thorpe Park, and I really enjoy the forces that these S&S screen and swings give you. However, Serengeti Flyer is twice the size and twice as good, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great addition as a really thrilling flat for Busch Gardens, and I think I can easily put it into A tier. And then SheiKra. Again, the only other B&M dive I've done is the original Oblivion at Alton Towers, which is, you know, it does its element well, it's got a good drop, but that is it. And SheiKra has a much more extended layout. You've got that Emmelman, you've got the second drop, you've got the splashdown. It's a really good coaster, a good dive. I think my opinions on dive coasters are similar to inverts. So I think I'll put it at a similar place to Montu, to be honest. I think it definitely belongs in A tier. It's a top tier coaster. And probably my third favourite at the park. I think Montu just about beats it, but I think it nestles in just behind it. Right, we're nearing the end now. We're going to do one more quick fire round. Ready? Let's go. The Simpsons Ride, D tier. Skull Island, Reign of Con, D tier. Slinky Dog Dash, C tier. Soaring over California, C tier. Space Mountain, A tier. Spaceship Earth, C tier. Stanley Falls Flume, C tier. Star Tours, C tier. Super Grovers, Boxcar Derby, D tier. Test Track, B tier. I'm moving Dr. Doom's Fearful to C tier. The Seas with Nemo and Friends, D tier. And we're back at Busch Gardens. This is another coaster that took me by surprise, again for the amount of airtime that it has. It was my first premiere Skyrocket 2, Tigris. I quite enjoy this. I think if they did what Icebreaker done and remove the comfort collars, it would be so much better, because it's really, really awkward to get into. But I think the launches are pretty punchy, it's got some decent airtime, and again, kind of like Scorpion, it fits into a small plot of the park, but it provides a unique experience that none other coaster in that park does. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in B tier. Tomorrowland Speedway gets to go into C tier. It does stink a little bit, literally, like the petrol fumes are a bit overwhelming in the ride. It's a nice attraction, gets to drive around in a classic car, explore Tomorrowland. It's similar to People Mover in terms of it kind of lets you explore Tomorrowland, but not to as much of an extent and not from as much of a height. So it's basically a worse version of People Mover. Toy Story Mania, as I mentioned earlier, I do prefer to Buzz Lightyear because of the actual interactive element working better. I think it's still in C tier and I think it fits in just around there. Transformers, the ride, 3D. Similar to Spider-Man, again, Universal seem to have these kind of mirrored attractions over their two parks. In it is this slightly worse version. Same ride system, not quite as good with how they integrate the physical sets with the screens. It's easier to tell when you're looking at a screen. Whereas in Spider-Man, they do quite a good job of blending the two. So for me, it can go B tier. Tron Light Cycle Run was a very good experience. A good new coaster. I did enjoy it. Again, I'm a big fan of a launch coaster, and it has a very punchy launch, especially for a Disney coaster. Definitely goes into A tier. In terms of Magic Kingdom, oh, hold on. I was going to say it just goes below Pirates, but it needs to go behind Big Thunder because Pirates is my #1 in Magic Kingdom. I think, yeah, it goes well. I enjoy it a similar amount as Pipeline. They're both good launch coasters. I think Tron does have stronger theming. I like the indoor section. I would like to experience Tron sat on the back because we did it twice, but we did it both on the front row. And I think if you do sit on the back, you get to see the lighting and visual effects more as the front of the train kind of goes through them. So then maybe that would push it up in the rankings a little bit. But yeah, I think similar level to Pipeline in terms of how much I enjoyed it. Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is next. This is definitely an S tier. This was our favourite Disney attraction out of all of them. I think you can go, ooh, where does it go? Yeah, just about. I mean, it's basically a drop tower like Falcon's Fury, except it has much better theming and a slightly lower level of thrill. I love the storyline behind it, and I also love how re-rideable it is. Yes, Falcon's Fury scares me to death and gets my adrenaline pumping. However, Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is much more re-rideable because they have so many different cycles that the ride vehicles can do. Like you can stop at different floors, you can go up and down a different amount of times, so you never know what you're going to get. Whereas Falcon's Fury is one massive drop. Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, I think, is more re-rideable, and for that, I don't know. I think, yeah, I'm gonna have to move it up. I think it was our favourite in Disney, so it has to go above Guardians. And I think, yeah, that's a better fit for it, just there in S tier, mid S tier. Very, very good attraction. Under the Seas with the Little Mermaid, that's gonna go to C tier for me. I think it's got a nicely themed queue, but again, the attraction itself, it doesn't do much. It's a little bit better than the Seas with Nemo and Friends, because I think the story's better, and I like the central, kind of the main room, where they're seeing under the sea and you've got all the animatronics of the fish. So I think it does do a better job than the Seas with Nemo and Friends. But yeah, it definitely fits in there around C tier. VillainCon Minion Blast was a bit of a letdown. It's Universal's newest attraction. I think it's way too busy. It's very hard to see what you're doing on the screen. Visually, it's quite impressive. There's a lot going on, but then after 30 seconds, you're like, there's a lot going on. I don't know where I'm shooting. I don't really know what to do. So I think for me, it does actually have to go in D tier. It's something that I'm glad I experienced the first time I was there, but it's not something I'm desperate to do every single time I go. Walt Disney Railroad is going to go to C tier. I really enjoy the narration, and I enjoy how classic the design of the train is and the stations are. However, you don't really get to see that much from the train. So for that reason, I think it has to go like below High in Sky's used trolley train. So yeah, I think it's going to go low C tier, just about there. And then finally, I've pulled it to the back, slightly out of alphabetical order, Velocicoaster. #1 on this list, for sure. For me, it does beat Iron Gwazi. It's a close run, but I think overall, Velocicoaster is a tighter package. Like, it has the theming, it has the storyline, it has the ambience in the station. It gets you excited to ride it. It has a launch, which I do prefer, and those launches are punchy. That first launch into the paddock with all those near misses with the raptors and with the rocks. It's such a creative string of elements. You've got all these dives, these turns, these inversions, and then that second launch into that top hat, the airtime coming off the top hat, staring down into the courtyard with all these people looking up at you, looking up at the spectacle that is the top hat of Velocicoaster. Then you have the zero-G stall, those loops around the lagoon, and then finally the airtime hill into the Mosasaurus roll, and then the double up into the brake run. Just a breathtaking ride. So good. S tier all the way. My personal #1 coaster I've ever ridden, and my #1 on this tier list from Orlando. And it definitely deserves its #1 place. But yeah, that's it, all done. I think I'm just gonna take a quick look and see if there's anything I wanna move around, and then we'll finish up. To be honest, I'm happy with everything. I have moved Avatar Flight of Passage down a lot, and I know I've already given it a lot of hate. I still think it is a good attraction, and I like to do it, but I think that's where it belongs, just right around Mickey and Minnie's, because I think they give me a similar level of enjoyment. But that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you have. Stay tuned, please subscribe. There is a lot of content coming out. We are so close to the UK parks opening. I will be there for Alton Towers opening day. I'll be there for Thorpe Park opening day. Hyperia's coming. I'm going to get content on that as soon as it opens. So subscribe for that if you're interested, and I will see you in the next video.